my relationship with the news has been one um, of it's grown and progressed and changed over the years. I used to be a heavy news talk guy. Well, when I was a teenager, it was just all rock and roll. But as I grew up, I went into news talk, and that's what I used to listen to when I was cutting grass and had this little lawn care business. We are part of the church plant out in Seattle, and so sort of cut my teeth in politics from the radio, and so I've felt like I have tried to stay informed over the years. I've had to watch my own spirit with that because it's like I get in way more information than I'm going to act upon or that I have authority to do anything with, and so it's just a lot of information up here. And then when you come to realize that sometimes the information is not accurate, and sometimes you realize that the information is to play you. And so you got to be careful with what you hear and how much you hear. And so probably the last, I don't know, guess a couple last 2 or 3 years, I go to it almost like back in the day where you would read the newspaper, right? Some guy would throw anybody else read the newspaper still? You do? Wow, look at that. Got some newspaper readers. So you would read the newspaper, and that would be it. Then you do your life, the relationships you have, the jobs you do, or whatever, until the next time you get a hold of the newspaper. So I've tried to do that, but for me, it's not every day. I just can't do it every day. I just can't listen to it all day long or every day. Now, so for me, it's about every couple weeks. I'm kind of oblivious to it. I go on Facebook to post about Sunday on the church thing, and other than that, I'm out. So sometimes people will say, "Oh, what did you hear about, or what did you think about?" And it's like, I didn't hear, or I just didn't. Now, I don't want to live with my head in a hole, because I do believe we have responsibilities as good citizens, especially locally and all of that. But it's like, I'll get there. Just give me a couple weeks. And so what I usually do is I will, it all depends on sermon prep. So if I'm in a series and I feel like I've already got, the next week prepared, I'll spend a day and I'll just be online and go into some sources that I kind of trust. At least it'll give you a fair shake about what's happening. And so that's kind of what I do. I go in, I listen, I look around for a few minutes, and then I get back out and I try to live my life. Well, 3 weeks ago, there was a dump of files that were a lot of emails and a lot of correspondence between very powerful people over the last several years. And I was like, well, they dumped something, right? And so you dump a whole lot. And so that's what I looked into. And the correspondence between influential and powerful people. If it were just the guy down the road, I really don't care. But if it's from people who can influence and have influence with my life, I am kind of interested in what they're thinking or what they're saying. And so I looked into it. And I found such almost otherworldly. I said to my wife, if this is true, I don't know if these people are human. I don't know. Are they completely taken over by evil forces? And so that was and I just spiraled in that for 2 or 3 days, just like, holy smokes, just it was hard to comprehend, in so much that once you did kind of comprehend it, you thought, I don't know what to do with this. And I'll come back to that story or come back to that thought pattern in a few moments. So what I had to do was I had to protect my heart from hating people or groups or positions, or like I wanted to scorch earth all of them. Just like, it'd just be better if there was like a lever for me to pull and be gone, just like, and it was like, and I did not, I thought, dude, that is some feelings that you've got to be careful about. All of that, and I'll come back to that story and just in a few moments. And so I want to help us, whether it's news that you hear or something that you experience, whether it's news that you hear that's a world away, or whether it's something that you experience at work or in home or whatever that would cause you to feel about hateful people the way you're not supposed to feel, but the way you instinctively want to feel, kind of immediately. That's your flesh, and you know it. You know it when you feel it, and you know it when you say it. It feels good. Have you ever said something and in the moment it's like, oh, that was good, because I nailed them. But then almost immediately you thought, and that wasn't right. That's not right. And Lord, forgive me. And then you say, the Lord says, I will, but I want you to ask them for forgiveness. And then you say, I'm not so sure I heard you, Lord, but let's pick up this conversation later, shall we? Like, give me a few moments just to kind of sit with that little scorched earth that I just left in the room. But you know it. You know it when you say it, and you know it when you feel it. That's not right. So there is a phrase in Psalm 1 that talks about the seat of the scornful that I want us to look at for just a few moments. It says this: blessed is the man who, now notice the progression. You get walking somewhere, before you know it, you're going to stand, you're going to slow down and stay or stand somewhere, and then before you know it, you're going to sit somewhere, and we'll see that just in a moment. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. So don't hang around the counsel of the ungodly. And once you realize this is an ungodly, you say, well, I know they're ungodly. All right, then be careful, because don't fool yourself to believe that you can swim in it and stay around it all and nothing get on you. So be careful with that. Blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stands in the path of sinners. I'm walking, and all of a sudden I find myself hanging out with a group, but you say, yeah, but I know better. I understand that, but just listen to the progression. Stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. And that's like the end of the progression. That's where you get in trouble. When you find yourself sitting in the seat of the scornful. Let's talk about those words for a moment. Scorn. The Hebrew is lutz. I don't know the alphabet or the Hebrew alphabet enough, but that's how it's pronounced anyway. Lutz. It means to foolishly mock, to blaspheme. To blaspheme is to say something about someone, whether it is they're doing good, but you say they're doing bad, or it just simply means to misjudge, or it means to leave out information that you should share, but you don't share it because you want the impression or you want the opinion of what you're trying to say. You want it to carry more weight. So what you do is you leave some information out. And now we'll do that with the crowd we don't agree with. We won't give them anything, we want to shade the truth, weigh the truth to our liking, and not say anything else. We want to trumpet our side, so to speak, and then just it's like it's all positive on my side, all negative on their side, and I'm not going to mention anything negative on my side because I don't want it to take away from the negative on their side. This means to blaspheme, to misjudge something. And then notice this, it's also used to intercede. And actually in the Hebrew, the word pictures that it gives you means to like a translator. Like, what did they say? Do you understand? Like if A couple of my sons-in-law, both of my sons-in-laws know Spanish. They speak Spanish. It's like they know Spanish. They learn Spanish. They grew up with Spanish. And if they say something in Spanish, somebody has to translate it for me. You know what power the translator has? The translator can say, they said, and I'd be like, that rascal. And that's not what they said at all. But there's power in the translation, right? Because you can say, they said, but you didn't say. That's blaspheme. That is to take something, misconstrue it on purpose to hurt and to be harmful. It's also the same word that they use like an ambassador. So now you start representing this blasphemous, scornful piece of information, but it means to misrepresent. So when you scorn, that's not just mocking something. That means I want to say something about it that I'm not for sure completely because I'm really not in the know. And to be honest, I got nothing to do. I can't change this at all, but I'm going to say it anyway because I don't like that person or those people. So I'm going to say it. But now, wait a minute. Now, that's scorn. But here it says, you sit in the seat of scornful. Seat is a place of judgment. So now, this is different. This is like you are declaring judgment. This is what, dear friend, we all have to be careful of. Because the moment you judge, the moment you make a judgment call, I'm not talking about having discernment whether you want to hang out with somebody or not. I'm not talking about saying about somebody, no, I don't believe what they're saying is right or not. But you're making a judgment call about that person. You want to be careful with that because unknowingly, maybe unknowingly, you're sort of like creating, there's a statement here we'll get to in just in a moment, but you're sort of fashioning your own algorithm by which the Lord's going to judge you with. So be careful when you sit in judgment, especially scornful judgment. Let's read the rest of the verse. But his delight is in the law of the Lord. Now, I just went from getting out of the seat of the scornful to a delightful place. So I'm going to meditate day and night on the laws of the Lord. You say, how do you protect your heart from becoming scornful about a person or people that seem almost like it's justified to scorn them? Like, who's going to argue with scorning that crowd that would harm children? It's like, I don't care what we do with them. You want to be careful about that because you can marinate on that and not meditate on the things you should be meditating on. And so the whole purpose this morning is just to protect us in a world that we kind of already knew was messed up and broken, and maybe, if you feel like me, discovered even more how hateful the world is. The more hateful you find it to be does not justify me responding in like manner. You got to protect your heart from that. How do you do that? By meditating in the word of the Lord. And the psalmist said, day and night. Day and night. He is like this guy who doesn't sit in the seat of the scornful, is like a tree planted. Now I'm not standing somewhere, I'm not walking somewhere, and I'm not sitting in the seat of the scornful. Now I'm planted by the streams of water that yields its fruit in its season, and its leaf does not wither. In all that he does, he shall prosper. That's the life I want to lead. That's the life that I want to represent. That's the kind of life that I want to represent where I'm at in my life. Not in the seat of the scornful, but planted by the river of life, seeing my life being prosperous and fruitful. Let's finish out this the psalm. The wicked are not so, but are like chaff that the wind drives, not planted, The wind drives. You know which way the wind goes? Wherever it wants to go. And you sit in the seat of the scornful and you get wrapped up in that, and you're just going to go with wherever the hot little piece of information is now. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, did you see that? Oh, did you hear that? Well, what they say? What are they doing? And you just everywhere. Don't do that, friend. Plant yourself. Have a place where you can be planted. The wicked are not so, but they're like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment. You're not going to hold up. You're not going to hold up when you stand before the Lord. Nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous, for the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish. Planted versus wind driven. I want a planted life, not wind driven. Paying attention to my own fruit more than I pay attention to the faults of others. So one of the ways to sort of to snap your brain out of it when you find yourself, vortexing downward, is to ask yourself, how's your fruit trees doing? How's your orchard doing? How's it going? Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I went out there and looked. But I can tell you about what they're up to. Well, I understand that. But how's my fruit trees going? How are my relationships? How are the people in my life that I can have influence with and impact on? How is all that going? Pay attention to your own orchard. I'm not saying don't stay informed, and there's we'll come back to that, like what our responsibility is. I'm not talking about hiding from or ignoring the world around us, or trying to make a difference in whatever way we can. All I'm saying is, you can pay attention to anything. You can't pay attention to everything. You're not unlimited in resource or bandwidth. So since I can't pay attention to everything, I can only pay attention to I can pay attention to anything, but not everything. I want to pay attention first to my own orchard, to my own fruit, how we're doing, and what I need to work on. What conversations do I need to have with somebody? Who do I need to apologize to? What relationships do I need to work on? And get your orchard in good shape, and then we'll go out and change the world around us in the ways we can. Every time you pronounce judgment on someone or some people, here's the thing that I want you to understand, and I believe I can prove it through Scripture. Every time you pronounce judgment, well, I think they should take those people and do X. Friend, hear me. I have said so much of that. So I am not sitting here like I am preaching to the guy speaking right now. But every time you pronounce judgment on someone or some people group, two things that are taking place. Number one, you're entangling with that situation. You're entangling with that situation. Do you want to have something like really to do with that situation? Be like, oh wait, man, that is like toxic uranium stuff. I don't want to be in the room where that stuff. Well, then stop judging it. Be careful, because when you speak it, and next week, it's almost like a part 2, but I want to talk to you about the power of your words. But when you speak it, you're entangling yourself with it. So be very careful. Number 2, here's the thing. You are creating your own algorithm by which you will be judged. So when you pronounce judgment on a person or people or a situation, the Lord's taking notes and like, so that's the same thing we're going to hold you up to. Well, no, I don't want to be. But you're judging that person or those people. And so I'm assuming you're judging something that you really don't know much about. Then we're going to judge you. But Lord, you understand where I came from. You got to understand my background. You understand what I've come up under. I know, but you don't understand that about those folk, and we're still judging them. What you're doing is you are creating your own algorithm. Here's the passage, Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. Judge not that you be not judged. Now again, we're not talking about giving somebody a pass, and I'm not talking about not wanting to seek justice for people who have been hurt or victims. Absolutely, I want to push for justice to be done using the system by which God has instituted. Judge not that you be not judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Okay, so every time, and let's remove it from world news. Let's just talk about the folks at work, or my relatives, or the neighbor. But every time you pronounce judgment, I think this should happen to that person. That is in the seat. You are sitting in a seat of judgment, and every time you do that, you're creating your own algorithm by which you're going to be judged. Let me ask you, when you stand before God, how much mercy do you desire? Well, I'd kind of like a lot of it. You have an opportunity to set that up. You're in control of your own judgment when you stand before the Lord. I'd like a lot of it. And not only that, the Lord says some things He'll judge then, but some things He judges now in life. What kind of mercy you want shown now? I'd kind of like a lot of it. Well, then show a lot of it. You're going to get what you show. We're setting up our own algorithm. So be informed. Be informed. I'm not saying live in ignorance of the world around us. Absolutely be informed. Be informed so you know how to pray and apply pressure. The children of God, followers of Jesus, should be involved in the world around us. No, I mean, like if the Lord lays upon your heart to like run for an office or to make a difference politically, praise God, I'll pray for you. I say, I'm not saying for the Christian to be quiet and just go off to the side somewhere. No. Be informed and apply pressure. Pressure rightly. What does that mean? To pray for and pressure ordained authority. Romans 13. To seek justice for the victims. There is nothing wrong with that. You have representatives in an ordained institution called the government. And you could say, well, but it's as corrupt as all get out, and it's as I know it is, but it's what it is, and it's what we got. So there is nothing wrong with you saying, hey, there was an injustice done to that person or those people, and I want to see justice done for them. And you're trying to put pressure on the person who is ordained to make a judgment call. Pressure them. Put the pressure to them. I want you to judge those folk. I want you to judge. So I don't have to. I want you, and the reason being is that's the ordained. So there's a security there, and there's a blanket of grace there that God gives to people who are in places of authority, not just government, but any place of authority. So pray for and pressure, because you don't want to judge if there's an actual judge who can judge. Jude chapter 1, it was only one chapter, but if I just say 8 and 9, sometimes folk will think there's chapters. But so Jude 1, 8, 9, and 10, look at that. It's an amazing, just this little, almost throwing it in at the end, kind of a thought. Jude, the half-brother of Jesus, was writing this. He said, I wanted to write to you about one thing, but I think I need to cover something else. He said, because there's been some influencers who have crept into the church, and they're getting us off track. And they're judging things that they know not of. And I want you to be careful about that. And then he gives this illustration of Michael the archangel. Look at the verses with me. Yet in like manner, these people, these folk who have crept in, these influencers, they crept in also relying on their dreams. Well, I had this dream. And because of this dream, I'm going to say this thing or that thing. I had this dream. They defile the flesh. They reject authority. They blaspheme the glorious ones. They misjudge. They blaspheme the glorious ones. But when the archangel Michael, contending with the devil, so Michael the archangel, big heavenly creature, combats and fights with the devil, he was disputing, and what were they fighting about? The body of Moses, like what's going to happen to it, where's it going to go, and all that. That's really not necessary for this moment right now, but just know that Michael the archangel and the devil were fighting and conflicting. He, Michael the archangel, did not presume to pronounce a blasphemous judgment. Michael the archangel would not even set in judgment on the devil himself. You say, well, I mean, I would think like if anybody's fair game, the devil should be fair game. I mean, if I want to say something negative about anybody, surely I could say something negative about the devil. You can. You can. Just remember, every time you set in judgment, you're creating your own algorithm by which you're going to be judged. So what did Michael the archangel do? Here's what he said. Michael the archangel said, "The Lord rebuke you." I'm praying that the Lord would show vengeance. That's fine. Don't you show the vengeance, just ask the Lord to show the vengeance. The vengeance is His. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get those who are in authority, ordained by God to sit in authority, to bring about the justice that you want to see. Our job is to pray for and to pressure those in authority to bring about the justice that I want to see, protecting or watching out for my own tongue to make sure that I don't get sucked in and begin to feel stuff about people or about a person or people groups that is not healthy for me to feel, and it's going to corrupt my own fruit that I'm wanting to grow in my life. He says this in Jude, but these people blaspheme. They blaspheme all that they do not understand. All that they do not understand. And they are destroyed by all that they, like unreasoning animals, understand instinctively. Well, of course I understand. It's just, naturally, I got this. This is what Jude is saying. I know. By nature, it just seems natural. That person hurt that person. I don't like that person. That's the natural way to feel. But what do I do with that feeling once I feel that feeling? Do I say, "Dear Lord, please"? Or do I pressure those in authority to do the thing that I want to see done? Or do I begin to take my words and begin to set in judgment, pronouncing on things that I'm not in authority to really do anything about? Could it be possible that I'm doing more damage for myself and not really making much of a difference other than just keep stirring it all up? Pray for and pressure those who can make a difference. You say, well, but they're not listening. All right, then we need to get some folks who will listen to make the difference that we want to see. Just be careful when you pronounce the judgment on somebody. So I told you about sort of like where this thought started. And a few of us have been like passing little songs and stuff that we wrote, that we're writing back and forth kind of to each other. And there's this AI that you can take your lyrics and plug it in, and it'll give you some musical renditions or whatever. And so I've been on this little kick for the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month or so, about writing some songs and just plugging them into the system and seeing what it would spit out. Well, the other day I was out working in the yard, and just like fresh off of hearing all that information and just seeming like the base and brokenness and just the damage to children, and I was just praying, just scorch earth them all, Lord. And I was just praying that, and I thought, and here's what I said. I said, Lord, tie a millstone, give them millstone necklaces, is what I said. And I came up with this little logo for the cover of the song, because I thought, I'm going to write a song about this. And in that song, I was scorching everybody. And it felt so good to scorch them all. I wrapped that millstone around their neck, dragged them to the bottom of the ocean, let everybody see this evil and this wickedness. And then I was telling my wife and maybe one of my other daughters or something, I said, I think I just wrote this song in my mind while I was out working in the yard. And I said, I'm going to call it millstone necklaces, and I'm going to pronounce judgment on all of this stuff. And they just looked at me and said, wow, yeah, that's something. And then, but as I was marinating on it, it just didn't sound, it didn't, like once I said it, it was like, this is right? I mean, good night. I mean, if you can't wrap a millstone around people like that, then like who can you wrap a millstone necklace around? And I just kept on like, and then I wrote the whole song, and the song is just scorch earth the world around me and all of this stuff going on. But then that night it was like, Lord, why doesn't this seem right? I think he said this because I wrote it down, not because I wrote it down in my journal. I think he said this and I wrote it down in my journal. The world is like the way it is because the church is not like the way it's supposed to be. Well, that's not as fun now because it kind of got turned back on me. He said, I think, be the church you were meant to be and leave the judgment of this world up to me. I wrote it down, and then I thought, that rhymes. Lord, is that from you? Because that rhymes. Yeah, now write the song. Now write the song. Get your eyes off of the world. See it enough to know how to pray and who to pressure to make a difference. But then when we're talking about the getting right part, turn that back on you. 1 Peter 4:17 says this, for it is time for judgment to first begin at the household of God. If the church was what we should be, would the world be what it is today? Maybe the world is like the way it is because it has run up against a powerless, feckless church. And because of that, who needs to be the ones getting right? 2 Chronicles 7:14 says, if my people who are called by my name humble themselves, pray, and seek my face, and turn from whose wicked ways? Their wicked ways? Well, Lord, it's not like our wickedness is different than their wickedness. You've got the Spirit of God within you, friend. How do you expect sinners to act? It's interesting, isn't it? Sinners act like sinners. He has a higher expectation for his own kids. You do this with yours. How many times your kids ever try to pull that on you? Well, the neighbor's kids or Aunt Susie's kids, like, well, those ain't my kids. I got a higher expectation for you. Pray and seek my face, turn from their wicked ways. Then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. I left the title the same in the song so I could bait and switch people. So when you hear it, you're going to feel like, oh, this is going to be good because this is going to scorch earth the world around us. And then it just turns it on you. Because I think that's something I can affect. My heart, my spirit, my fruit or lack thereof, my prosperity or lack thereof, the healing of the land that I can affect, the people that I can have influence with, that's something I can change. I do believe as people of God, I need to stay informed. We're in the world. I want to see a difference made. I want to see justice for people who have been hurt and harmed and damaged. There is a system by which God has ordained, Romans chapter 13, that gives people the sword, like a sword to exact justice, pressure them to do so. Just be careful with the words that you pronounce and the words that we say, and let the most stinging words be inward to the church. Because, dear friend, we're the difference makers in this world. We are the salt. If we lose our saltiness, then the whole thing is at loss. Let's make sure we are where we should be. I hope that the message can be a help and a blessing to you. We're going to have
The news these days sounds like a horror show. The bloodlust for kids seems like a new low. Dark forces raining down from high places. Demonic lies behind smiling faces. My initial prayer to this wickedness was God handing out millstone necklaces. But vengeance is left to God all alone, and our first judgment begins in His home. We are people who are called by Your name, confess our wicked ways to our great shame. We humbly bow and pray and seek Your face. Forgive us and heal us, Lord, by Your grace. May we be the church that You had in mind, humble and powerful at the same time, never forgetting You died for the lost, speaking truth and love no matter the cost. Lord, help us to be the church we should be, Spirit-filled, walking victoriously, helping this enslaved world and heaven meet by crushing Satan's head under our feet. Remind us we don't fight with flesh and blood. Your love flows to all people like a great flood. Our victory will be won on our knees as You hear our hearts cry out this our plea. We are people who are called by Your name, confess our wicked ways to our great shame. We humbly bow and pray and seek Your face. Forgive us and heal us, Lord, by Your grace. May we be the church that You had in mind, humble and powerful at the same time, never forgetting You died for the lost, speaking truth and love no matter the cost. Lord, help us to be the church You had in mind, the church You had in mind for this dark time.